Using the tour browser in Pano2VR Pro, we can quickly build interactive tours. And in this tutorial, you'll learn a few basic workflows for creating both small and large tours. In Pano2VR, the panoramas are called nodes, and we use point hotspots to connect them to each other, creating a tour. There are many ways to build tours, and they all start the same way, by getting the images into Pano2VR. If all the images are contained in a folder, you can simply drop that folder onto the Pano2VR logo. Pano2VR will open, and the images will be added to the tour browser. You can also add them by using the Input button. Just click here, select your images, and click Open. And the last option would be to just drag in your images. If the tour browser isn't open, just drag the images to the viewer and then open the tour browser, either from the toolbar, window menu, or the keyboard shortcut Shift-Alt-T. So let's start building a tour. Here I have 4 nodes that I want to connect, and I do this by adding point hotspots. I'll activate the point hotspots mode and double-click in the viewer to add a hotspot. And once I do that, its properties will appear. For the type, I'll choose Tour Node. I'll add a title, and this will be used for the hotspot tooltip. And here, I'll choose which node this hotspot should link to. Now I'll set the target view. When I click this button, the target viewing parameters pops up. This is the panorama that it's pointing to, and here I can set where within the panorama it opens up to. I'll add another point hotspot, but this one will point to a different image. I can add hotspots also by dragging a node from the tour browser to the viewer. Now I just have to do the same to the rest of the images to create the tour. And remember that when you get to your last image, to link back to the beginning node. Now all my images are connected, and I know this because I no longer have a warning symbol on my panoramas. Next I'll output it, so I'll go to the Output panel and choose the HTML5 format. I'll leave everything at their default settings and output the project. If you haven't saved the project yet, you'll be prompted to name and save the project before outputting. These red dots are the hotspots, and when I click on them, they take me to the next panorama. They are also the default hotspot images and tooltips. If you want to have custom images, you'll need to apply a skin. In the HTML5 output settings, I'll just pick the silhouette skin, which comes pre-installed with Pano2VR. I'll output the project again, and now we have custom hotspot images with pop-up thumbnail images showing us the linked node. If your images have location data added to your images, this process is even faster. These images all have location data, and I know this because of this icon. I can also see this information in the user data and in the tour map. Another telltale sign that the images have location data are these ghost hotspots, and these represent all the nodes. By letting my mouse hover over them, I can even see which node they're linked to. All I have to do is activate them by double-clicking, and when I do that, the property panel opens and everything is already set. I just have to check the target view. And then I can move to the linked node by clicking here. I'll just finish linking the rest of the images, add a skin, and I'm done. Now what if your images don't have location data, but you wish they would? Well, you're in luck because you can add coordinates and set north in the tour map. Open the tour map via the toolbar, menu bar, or with the keyboard shortcut. I know the location of this image, so I'll start by searching for it. And then a green flag lands in its location. I just need to click it to add the coordinates, and then I can move the pin to a more precise location. I'll also set north while I'm here so that the panorama is correctly oriented in relation to the other nodes. And this can be done using the Pick Landmark feature. So first, rotate the panorama to a landmark and center in the viewer. Turning on the center marker will make this a little bit easier. And then in the tour map, click Pick Landmark. And then right-click that same landmark that you just centered in the viewer, and then north is set. Pano2VR has a feature called automatic linking, which is a big time saver for building tours. If your images are geotagged and north has been set, half the work is done for you. You'll find this feature in the tour menu, and there are 3 types of automatic linking. Sequential will create the tour based on the node's order in the tour browser. Closest node links each panorama's closest neighbor. And complete will link every node to all other nodes. You might find it interesting that you can select just a portion of the tour nodes and choose complete for the automatic linking. And this is useful, for instance, when you have a group of nodes that are located in a single room. For this tour, I'll use Sequential, which also has the advantage that it points the tour images in the correct direction. It'll add 2 hotspots to each node, one for the previous node and one for the next. I can now move through the tour pressing the Command key on the Mac or Control on Windows in either square bracket. Another way to move through the tour is to press Alt and click the hotspots. And if you hover over the hotspot, you'll get information about that connected node. Next, I'll add an HTML5 output. And then I'll add the silhouette skin, and I want to show you the skin in the skin editor. This is a pop-up image, and when the mouse hovers over the hotspot, a thumbnail of the linked image will appear along with the title of the image. And not only that, but there's a check mark here that will appear once the node has been visited. I'm going to add a thumbnail navigation bar to this skin. It can be found in the Components toolbox, and all I have to do is double-click it to add it to the skin. And then I'll make some minor changes. Then I'll save it and rename it. Now is a good time to save the project, and the final step is to just output the tour by clicking the Generate Output button. And here it is. Here's a hotspot, and when my mouse hovers over it, I get a pop-up that's a thumbnail image of the panorama that it's linked to. And I can navigate through the tour just through the hotspots, but I can also navigate using the thumbnail bar. Now, this tour is fine as it is, but I want to make it a bit more intriguing. So I'll go back to Pano2VR and add a fly-in and transitions. Now let's output that and see how it works. Here it is in Chrome on the desktop, and here it is on iOS. You might now be wondering, great, now what do I do with this? Well, since my output is HTML5, I can just upload the output folder to my website's server. Another option is to output the project using the Garden Gnome package format with our WordPress plugin. And that's the basic workflow for building a panoramic tour. For more in-depth information, check out our documentation pages and our forum.